Como are one of the most exciting projects in world football. They are managed by Cesc Fabregas and are heavily financially backed. They are now in the top tier of the Serie A and are looking to stay in the league this season. They've even brought in players like Dele Alli and Pepe Reina to try and revive their careers. So today, we are looking to rebuild Como with a twist of only signing under-21s Wonderkids to see if we can turn them into the best team in the world. Now, first up, I want to mention Dele Alli because I want to get this guy back to the top of his footballing career. I think it's absolutely fantastic that he is back in professional football and of course playing for a club like Como in a ridiculous location with an incredible stadium and incredible fans. I think it's great for Dele Alli to be there and also be mentored by someone like Cesc Fabregas. I think we could see the best of Dele Alli back in football, which is great. So throughout this rebuild, the next 3 or 4 seasons, we're going to try and get Dele Alli back into the England setup. He needs one more cap and I'll be absolutely buzzing. So Dele Alli is number 1 player I want to touch on, and then the rest of the team is just fantastic. We have fantastic Wonderkid prospects here already, like Nico Paz, who is playing off the right wing, and Asane Diao, a January signing, playing off the left wing. In DM, we have Maxence Cacore, signed from Olympique Lyon, and Sergi Roberto in DM, and a back 4 of Alex Vale, who is on loan from Barcelona, who I'm a massive fan of. Vojvodova on the right wing, and Kempi and Dosena at centre-back, with Pepe Reina in goal. It makes it quite an exciting project to have this team, and there is some fantastic players still looking to come in. Number 1 being Ali Jassim, who is currently out on loan at Almere City, but my god, this guy's stats look incredible. His physicals are brilliant, his determination and flair is brilliant, he has 18 dribbling and extreme consistency. And I won't be surprised if when we eventually get Como to be the best team in the world, Ali Jassim is still here at the club because he looks absolutely brilliant. The rest of the club is fairly good. Finances wise, we're okay. We have £8 million in the overall balance and no debt on the club, which is great. And I am playing on an updated database. So Como currently sitting in 13th place as of the 29th of Jan, which is when I started making this rebuild. So drop a like on the video because it has taken me some time to turn Como to the best team in the world using only under 21 scouting. Now throughout this video, I'll be using the scouting method that I showed on the channel the other day. There was a player we also featured in that video who was an absolute joke, signed for just 500k in this rebuild. So stick around and find out how we picked up Joshua Jonas. Before our first season, it was simply about safety and trying to make Dele Alli a top tier player once again, scoring the opening goal here in the final day of the season against Inter Milan before Hakan Çalhanoğlu gets it back to 1-1. But in the 63rd minute, Dele Alli, influential once again, finds Sergi Roberto to grab himself the assist and make us 2-1 winners in this massive game. Now, I wasn't really expecting too much from this season, given they are a mid-table club, and that's exactly where we ended up finishing as well. Down in 11th place on 49 points. But as I say, the tactic worked quite well. I've just made a pretty basic 4-2-3-1, which will be available for you guys on Patreon to download, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. We have gone with very attacking wing backs, which is really overpowered on FM, and when you've got someone like Alex Vale on the left and Vojvodova on the right with fantastic crossing and pace on both of them, you have to do that. Nico Paz has been brilliant on that right wing, and Asane Diao, electric pace, great dribbling, is fantastic. Now, as mentioned, I'm very excited to get Ali Jassim back in the team. I don't know where he's going to play because I am locking Dele Alli into that cam role, and this season he was pretty decent. 16 games, 4 goals and 3 assists, and looked to find his form towards the end of the season as well, which is great to see. He actually really ramped it up in the last 3 matches, a 7.4, 7.3 and an 8.4, which is very nice. 3 goals and 1 assist in his final 5 games. So he is getting back into match sharpness and looking to become a top tier player. So at 28 years of age, can we make Dele Alli back in that England setup? God, I hope so. But financially, Como are broke. They are so poor in terms of signing players. So it's going to be very difficult to sign these under 21 Wonderkids. There is a couple of players in this team which I want to keep. Number 1 being Alex Vale. And luckily, he has a very cheap transfer value. But we are going to have to make some sales if we want to make this Como side work with the under-21s football. There is some more players here which I wish could keep. Maximo Perrone is a brilliant centre defensive midfielder. Sadly, just way too expensive for us. Ignace van der Bremt has some good value, would be a great backup right back, but sadly can't stay. And Jonathan Icone as well was brilliant this season. Just 6.6 million is all I'd have to spend, but we literally can't do it. We do not have the money to be able to do that. Now, luckily also, there is a lot of players out on loan, and there is some decent value players at the club. I'm not selling Nico Paz. He's the cover star. He's on the thumbnail. He is staying around. But someone like Tassos Douvikas potentially could go for 10 million. Alberto Moreno, I'm looking to buy Alex Vale. So we could do that little swap deal and make a little bit of money from him and buy Vale as well. But let's get into it. Our first summer transfer window, signing only under 21s players with absolutely no money. We're going to have to scout really well. Now, first up, we have to start with the outgoings. £24 million has been raised from Alberto Moreno, Andrea Belotti, Patrick Catrone, Gabriel Strafeza, Emile Doro, Jules Betez, Luca Mazzatelli, and a whole bunch of other players, raising a very decent amount of money. But financially, the situation still didn't look great, and we only retained 30% of any transfer revenue. So I've made an executive decision that for this first season, I am going to sign 2 players which aren't under 21. Now, you can bully me in the comments. You can say I've cheated. It's absolutely fine. I needed to do this. I needed to bring some quality in. So there's 2 signings that aren't under 21 in this rebuild, and they do come in the first season. Number 1, I needed a brand new goalkeeper. Pepe Reina is so old. He is regressing so fast. And Federico Ravaglia is a 24-year-old Italian signed from Bologna for just £1 million. And number 2, I really needed a brand new right back to match what Alex Vale was doing on the left. So Manolis Salikas has come in from St. Pauli. He is 27. He has cost us £2 million. Again, hands up, I apologise. 2 players have been signed that are not in the 21s. And for the third and final signing, just showing how broke we were, even though we raised £24 million, is the £1.5 million permanent deal of signing Alex Vale. Now, of course, this season we do effectively get the brand new signing of Ali Jassim coming into the club after his loan spell from Almere City, which is very exciting. So the team does look slightly different. It's Ragaviglia coming straight in to that goalkeeping position. I've actually kept Vojadova on that right back so far, but Salikas will get lots of games there. Vale, Desena and Kemp make up the back 4. Kakare and Roberto stay in midfield. Paz now shifts over to the left wing. Jassim on the right wing. I am locking Dele Alli and Cam once again because I want to see him in the England team. That might come to some jeopardy though, because we do also have a son in Diao who needs game time, as does Paz, as does Ali Jassim. So it's going to be difficult to get all of them in the team as well as Dele Alli. So I am also retraining him into that DM position. So if I need to, I can drop him back there as well. And up front is this season's striker, Tassos Douvikas. We need to see him progress. He is 24 years of age, 18 caps for Greece with just 1 goal. Last season, hardly played a game for us, which is disappointing, but also we did have a lot of other strikers and we have sold a lot of them this season. So it is going to fall to Tassos to be our striker. Now, the board simply wants us to avoid a relegation battle, and the media think it will be a very similar season as well, coming down in 17th place. With the amount of sales we've made and the only 3 signings we've brought in, this is going to be a pretty difficult second season. We were, however, blessed with a bunch of new players performing to a ridiculous level. Ali Jassim was a fantastic player this season, and Tassos Douvikas really proved that he could be the Como striker, scoring in this game against Bologna, but also scoring another 17 goals to make it 18 on the season in the Serie A alone. It was nice to see that we had found ourselves an absolute bagsman already at the club without having to spend any more money. And in fact, the form this season was just really good, especially in the second half of the season. We nearly went 3 months unbeaten through January, February and March, despite the last minute loss to AS Roma. We finished the season on fairly up and down form, but wasn't good enough to actually challenge for Europe, not just avoid a relegation battle. And was somehow by the skin of our teeth, yes it was. We have got Como into the Europa League with just 3 signings and selling a whole bunch of players. Bringing in some of the younger players that are at the club already and believing them has worked an absolute treat. Now, 1 point difference would have been down in 9th place. So we have to count our lucky stars, but that could be the financial juice that we need, because we are so down bad in terms of money compared to the other clubs. In fact, the Serie A for me is one of the hardest leagues on FM to really get big in. AC Milan, Inter Milan, Lazio, Juventus, Roma, Fiorentina, Napoli, Atalanta are all massive clubs, let alone teams having good seasons like Sassuolo, Torino, sometimes clubs like Bologna and Cagliari in this rebuild, you'll see, have unbelievable seasons and break in to potentially winning the league. We have to battle with all of that while only signing under 21s from now on. Again, apologise for them 2 signings. But anyway, back onto the financial side of things. Yeah, it's difficult. We have £5 million in the bank despite having a full season just coming 6th. And still no debt, just a little bit of transfer debt, which is good. Still having the restriction of only 30% of any transfer revenue being available until 57 million being generated, and it will then drop to 10%. Which just seems ridiculously unfair. Luckily, there's not that much value in the club that we could do that. Although, Asana Diao and Nico Paz, if we sold both of them, we would do that. Asana Diao worth 36, Nico Paz worth 29. Both having very, very good seasons. Both obviously 19 and 20 years of age as well, which is great to see. Ali Jassim, 11 goal contributions at 21. Them 3 are going to be absolutely fantastic. And if Dele Alli has another season like he had this year, where despite scoring 10 goals, only grabbed a 6.77, I am going to move away from that experiment. He has still only got 37 caps for England. I am still, though, very happy. He has played now 51 games for Como and seems to be back into playing professional football at a good level, which is good to see. And he's not really hampering us at all. He's actually just helped us get into European football. But with the talent we've got here at the club in Diao, Paz and Ali Jassim, I'm just not sure if I can continue to prioritise Dele Alli. Maxence Kakare in DM was great. As mentioned, Tuvikas was great. Our new signings, the goalkeeper, which I know it's sad, didn't really play any games, which is quite annoying. Pepe Reina still played all the games this season. And in terms of the right back, Saliskas only played 5. So overall, the 2 signings which broke the rules only played 9 games. Was it worth it to break the rules? Probably not, which is quite annoying. So again, apologies on that front. But let's get into season 3 and see if we can now make some fantastic Wonderkid signings and really turn this Como team into a challenger in the Serie A and in Europe. So again, we raised a bunch of money this season through outgoings. Maxence Kakare left to Al Nassr for £13.5 million. Of course, now on big money. Vojadova, the right back, has gone to Al Faisley. Even Azon has gone to Espanyol. Ensame has gone to Cagliari. And a few other players left, raising another £21 million. So for this season, I only made 1 permanent signing. And that is Benjamin Shamine. And he's not even going to play this season due to the non-EU rules. But is someone that in the future could be a fantastic DM for us. That doesn't mean I didn't bring any more players in. The rest of them are all loan signings, showing just how broke we are. Now, Conor Bradley has just turned 22. When I signed him, he was 21. Very annoying that it now says that. But he is a fantastic right wing back who is very, very attacking and is going to be fantastic this season on loan. Number 2 is Arthur Vermeeren, coming in from RB Leipzig and is joining permanently for £1.8 million at the end of the season. Again, sort of looking to push back our finances. If we have a very good European season and potentially win it, we'll be in Champions League football, which means we'll then be stupidly rich. But for now, we haven't got a lot of money, so I have spent a lot of it on loan fees, looking to offset our finances. So Arthur Miran is a fantastic DM signing who really could progress into one of the best players in the game. Next up was a young Bulgarian goalkeeper in Plamen Andreev, coming in as a backup from Feyenoord, as Pepe Reina has now retired. Someone I've never signed on FM before, but looks absolutely fantastic, is Charalabos Kostalousis, coming in from Olympiakos on a loan deal worth £10 million, but is absolutely fantastic. Can play right wing, cam, and striker, and can provide lots of goals for us. And my final signing is Abdulakir Kushanov, coming in from Manchester City on a loan deal. This guy's been quite impressive in real life for Man City since coming in, and I want to see what he's like on FM. We never really got the chance as FM players to see what this guy is like on FM, and I want to see what he is like. So let's see what he can do. The team now does look very, very different. Duvakas, Nico Paz, Ali, and Jassim, but now in DM, Vermeeren and Roberto, as Kakare has gone. A brand new right back in Bradley, and then Kemp, Dosena, Vale, and Raglavilla in goal. But it's our backups which have changed the most. Andreev, Salikas, Kushnov, Kurto, Sala, Browndona, Shamine, Asan Diao, Rispoli, Fadera, and Kusdulas come in as the other players that can rotate into this team. Now, of course, European football makes things very difficult. When you have a small squad, especially for the Wonderkids, they often quite struggle. So we are predicted to come down in 18th place, which would be relegation. So let's count our lucky stars that doesn't happen. Let's also hope we can get out of the Europa League phase, because that will give us a whole bunch of money, and hopefully we can take away that silly restriction of only getting 30% of any sale. And well, we've absolutely smashed it. The league phase, we finished in 10th place, just a singular point and a singular goal away from being in the top 8 and completely skipping the knockout playoff round, which is much better than I expected. In that knockout playoff round, we faced up against AEK and actually lost the first leg 3-2. So in the second leg, we had to go for it at home in front of the Como fans. Dele Alli scored the first goal, which was great to see, giving us the 1-goal lead. Conor Bradley then whipping the ball in for an unfortunate own goal, making it 2 and tying the tie up. Bradley then gets it to Sergio Roberto, whipping it into the box. Again, Conor Bradley on that right flank, finding Asana Diao, and we beat AEK Athens. But in the round of 16, we gave ourselves a lot of harm. A red card in the 7th minute and lost to Porto 3-2 in the home leg. There was going to be a lot to do in this tie if we wanted to somehow get through. So 40 seconds in, Nico Paz scored to tie the game up at 2-2 on aggregate. However, just 5 minutes later, the game was 1-1 and we're back to losing in this. Unbelievable scenes as the Sena basically passes the ball into the back of the own net, which doesn't help. Dele Alli then stepped up and scored from the spot, before Porto scored from the spot themselves with Danny Namasso, another sort of fallen English wonderkid. For the first time again, we are going to take the lead in this game. A ball whipped in, it falls to Ali Jassim on the right flank and he finds Duvakas. And now for the first time, we are going to take the lead in the tie. Kushinov finds Braudana, a great ball over the top for Nico Paz to run onto. You can see the young Russian players in the box, and Duvakas does fire home to give us the lead in the tie. It would be nice to not concede goals, but that doesn't happen here. This game, in fact, is going to have another 3 goals. The game is all tied up as things stand, but Dele Alli finds a great switch to Alex Vale on the left flank, again, to find a ball into the box. A very stupid own goal, and we are back ahead. And finally, we take a 2-goal lead. Conor Bradley down the right flank, again finding Dele Alli in the middle, falls to Braudana, Ali Jassim scores, and Como have finally beaten FC Porto. But in the quarterfinal, we do finally meet our match. It is AS Roma, who are a very decent team. They beat us 6-3 in the first leg and 2-1 in the final leg, which means we don't progress into the semi-finals, but a very good season for us in European football, which has also helped massively financially. We now have £28 million in the bank, but despite asking the board, they still won't give us any more money if we do sell players. But at least we have a transfer budget of £12.5 million next season. But what we need to find out is if we are playing European football or not. Well, that's not going to come from the Italian Cup, as we have lost in the 3rd round to Napoli. In the other 2 seasons, we got knocked out in the 1st round both times, which is really frustrating, which means it all falls down to our league position. Can we secure European football despite already having European football last season and playing an extra 12 games? Somehow, yes, we can. And 61 points is the magic point tally for us once again. And once again, just 1 point lost would have proven all it was to drop out of that European football. We are playing Europa Conference League next year, which I, for one, am very excited about. We should hopefully be able to tick off our first European trophy next season, as it is the easiest trophy to win on Football Manager. We had just a 7 goal difference, meaning goals were quite hard to come by. If we do actually sort it by goals, it was the loan signing, Kostoulas, who had the most this season on 15. To be fair, paired and matched with by Nico Paz and Duvakas. Asana Diao grabbed 14 and 11 assists, while Ali Jassim grabbed 14 and 5 assists. Dele Alli, 5 goals, 3 assists, and has now dropped off. He is a 2-star player and has got a massive injury as well. He did knee tendonitis and is out for another couple of weeks. It's already been out for a month. So I think this is the end of the Dele Alli experiment. Couldn't quite get him back in the England team, but certainly revived his career, which I, for one, am absolutely buzzing with. But the exciting talent we have got here at the club is needing to play more games, so they are going to play more games. Aliou Fadera is someone we've not touched on just yet in this rebuild. He grabbed 20 goal contributions, but I'm going to look to cash in on that money because Ali Jassim, Asana Diao, and Nico Paz as a 3 behind a striker is very, very exciting. Arthur Vermeeren for 1.8 million looks like an absolute bargain, grabbing 9 goal contributions and a 7 average rating. And I just wish we could bring in Connor Bradley. 19 assists this season. 71 million vote is just a little bit out of our price range, which is annoying. So we can't sadly bring him in. Kushinov was okay this season, not quite Serie A quality on FM it seems. And Plamen Andreev actually played a whole bunch of games. We can get him up for just £3 million, but he's not really a meta goalkeeper on FM. He's got okay stats here and there, but as just a 2-star player, 6.72 average rating, I think we can do better. So let's get into this season. We need to build a European Conference League winning team. Now, I have made the executive and slightly controversial decision to move on from Tassos Douvikas. 15 goals last season is okay, but I need someone better up front. So I've gone with youth, and I'm looking to see if Orestein Oskarsson can bring some pure goal-scoring talent to this Como side for just £6 million signed from Lille. Alex Jimenez was my next signing to come in that right wing-back position, and I think he can replace the assists of Connor Bradley last season. 19 is a ridiculous amount, but having 2 Spanish attacking wing-backs is quite exciting. Alex Vale, Alex Jimenez, the 2 Alexes, grabbing 30 assists between them this season. Next up, I am trusting 18-year-old Norwegian goalkeeper Alem Omarinovic to be our starting man this season. He has got extreme consistency. He is 6'1", is not the most meta FM goalkeeper in the world, but with high determination and good consistency, I think we can turn him into a star. For just £1 million, I found this absolute bargain in Caturiel Cabelos. He is going to be playing from next season. Again, another player with a non-EU slot, which is slightly frustrating. But he can play right wing and right wing back. So again, next season, if we do need a superstar right wing back to get them assists the same as Connor Bradley, this guy could certainly be that man, or he could be a great right wing rotational option for Ali Jassim. I've gone back to the loan market once again, this time to bring in Filippo Mane. We do have a potential signing of just £3.5 million on him. Great determination, great defensive stats, and great pace. If he can progress this season, I will certainly be triggering that, as he is also Italian. And another loan signing, this time in a backup striker of Tommaso Raviglioli, signed from Bologna, just simply to come in and make up the numbers. I am trusting Oskarsson up front this season, as you can see from the tactics screen. The 3 and behind him, Jacine Paz and Giao, is very exciting. Roberto and Vermeeren now permanently in that DM spot. The 2 Alexes, either wing back, Mane and Kemp at centre back, and the trusted goalkeeper, Omarinovic, in goal. This season, Europa Conference League, we can win it. This trophy is normally the easiest one to win on FM, so touch wood, we can do it this year. If you are enjoying this rebuild and you are enjoying the financial troubles that we've had to go through in this rebuild, make sure to smash a like on the video as well. Of course, there is also the Patreon link, which is down below, where you can pick up this rebuild file and help support me out, as well as all the other rebuild files and tactics on the channel for just £5 a month, and it helps me out massively. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat this and say I'm an absolute genius. I have mentioned many times this trophy is the easiest trophy to win on FM. We got 18 points out of 18 in the league phase. Round of 16, we faced up against Olympiacos and beat them 5-4 on aggregate. Quarterfinals, we faced up against Wolfsburg and beat them 3-2, which was the hardest team out of any team here, other than potentially Sevilla, but we managed to beat them. Semi-finals, we had to face up against Braga, beat them 4-2, and Sevilla were luckily knocked out against Sparta Prague. We're in the final, we actually ended up going 1-0 down against, which is entirely embarrassing. Ramirani scored against Omarinovic to give them the early lead, but we were too strong for them. Alex Vale, down that left-hand side, ended up beating his man, finding Braudner, who has been a fantastic rotational DM, to find Dele Alli, who is still knocking about and still scoring goals, this time to make it 1-1. Vale then finds Giao, back to Vale, into Braudner, into Giao to finish home for 2-1, and Como were European champions. Conference League champions anyway, and we are going to be in Europa League football next season, which is very important because this year in the league we did fall off. We had 52 points, which is 9 less than we normally get. A positive 3 difference is a good sign though. We weren't a team that got bullied about the league at all. We were actually quite strong. Just playing them extra bunch of games does eventually wear on a team, and as mentioned, when you have such a young team, it seems to wear even more. In terms of goals this season, Oskarsson was a standout striker, which is great to see, scoring 20 goals. It was worth taking the risk to bring him in. Nico Paz, 18 18 goal contributions is brilliant. Giao grabbing 19 as well. The backup striker in Ravgioli grabbed 10 goals. Federa grabbed 16. Jassim grabbed 17 goal contributions. And Dele Alli, despite being locked into a position, played 51 games overall and got another 13 goal contributions. Still not enough to get him back in the England setup, but what a guy. What an absolute hero. Alex Jimenez did grab 15 assists, but Alex Vale just 10. So the 30 record was just shy. We managed to grab 25, which is still pretty decent. Filippo Mane, I locked into that centre-back position. The signing of just £2.4 million has been made, and he is joining permanently, which is a fantastic piece of business for us. And in goal, the risk of using Omoranovic paid off dramatically. A 6.81 average rating at 18, turning 19 in the series is very good, and of course his potential is sky high. Financially this year, things are looking pretty decent. We didn't drop down to a zero balance, which is a very good start considering the amount of outgoings and incomings and wages we are now starting to spend. We have £11 million in the transfer budget, which is great to see. I'm hoping we can next season again try and compete in Europa League football. What is nice to see though is how we have turned Como already in sort of in 2 seasons we did it. We turned them into a consistent European side, which is pretty amazing. So let's see if next year we can take the step to make them, let's try and finish in the Champions League places and have another good spell in the Europa League. So to give us the best chance of that, I am using the scouting method that I released the other day of finding hidden regens from different nations all over the place. My first signing is Lasse Albutat, coming in from Wellington Phoenix. This guy looks fantastic. As a defensive midfielder at 18 years of age, I'm very excited to see what he could turn into. And even better, he is part German as well, which means he doesn't take up a non-EU slot. Number 2 is Jaliston Angulo, who comes straight into the team and I think will be a superstar right back. He has got 16 crossing, electric pace, and 6'2". Is playing for Independiente del Valle in Ecuador in real life. I'm actually so surprised how well I seem to pronounce that. I've absolutely just cooked. He is a non-EU slot, but because we've sort of tried to shift away from signing too many, he can come straight into the team, which is great to see, and it's a very good right back. Next up is Jonathan Norbe, a centre-back coming in from RB Leipzig from Norway. 11 caps for them is how I found him. Extreme consistency, good pace, and good defensive work. My next signing is sort of a failed wonderkid in FM years. It's Stanis Edumbo Mazambo, who starts off at Ajax, but in real life has moved to Sevilla, where he did play 82 games, but played 121 for the second team as well. So never really solidified his slot in the Sevilla side. I've paid £4.7 million for him, and as a rotation for all 3 cam positions, I think he's absolutely brilliant and is going to do a very good job for us. My penultimate signing is Andrija Maximovic, who is a cam that I have brought in from Severna Zvezda. Again, a non-EU player. We have got loan bids for him straight away from Championship and lower half Premier League clubs. So he's going to go out on loan, but I've signed him because he's only 20. It was the last year I could sign him. He's a 5-star potential player. Cost us £4.7 million, and he was about to get snapped up by a whole bunch of other clubs. So I've just secured his services. I'm loaning him out, and next year he's going to be a star. And my final signing is again going back to that loan market, this time finding Almagada Kabir from Borussia Dortmund, where he does start his career. He is a very good young left back and is going to be a great backup for Alex Vale. The team hasn't changed too much this season. In fact, the only real change is Albertat in that DM role. However, we could also see Braudner play in that position as well. He is a fantastic Austrian DM that Como have picked up in real life. He has developed into a really solid player as well, has a really good value, and is someone that has sort of slipped under the radar as a really good rotational DM. If you are going to do a Como save or looking for a very good rotational DM, pick up this guy because he's extreme consistency and very well rounded. Now, once again, as mentioned, this season we are looking to make strides in European football, but I'd like to perform better in the Italian Cup as well and see if we can lift our first one of them. And well, this season was by far our best in the competition, getting all the way to the semi-finals before facing up against Inter Milan, who sadly beat us 4-0 on aggregate. But it was a much better showing, which I am very happy with. In the Europa League, of course, we were looking to go back-to-back in European competitions after winning the Conference League and come second in the league phase. But sadly, in the round of 16, we were knocked out 7-0 to Olympic Lyon. And the second leg was a 6-0 loss, which is mental because these aren't even that good of a team. They are a 6th place Ligue 1 side, and they've just absolutely embarrassed us, which was incredibly frustrating because our league form this season was actually very good. We ended up having our best season in the Serie A yet. While we finished down in 7th place and get Europa Conference League next year, we did get 67 points, which is 6 points better than we've ever done before. And you can quite clearly see we have put ourselves in the top 8 in the league. AC Milan, Juventus, Inter Milan, Lazio, Atalanta, Napoli, Como and AS Roma are the new big 8 in Italy. And that is pretty much all down to our Wonderkid signings we have been making. I mean, this year, Stanis Imundo Mazambo scored 20 goals and got 7 assists in 42 games. He's only a 2.5-star current ability player, and I didn't expect him to be anywhere near this good, but he was absolutely brilliant this year. Oscarson scored 20 goals in 29 starts. Ali Jassim grabbed 32 goal contributions. At 24 years of age, he really has turned into a superstar on that right wing. With that incredible determination and consistency, he has always been a top tier player. When you add that in with the pace and the dribbling, we have an electric right winger. Masana Gial grabbed 16, which is great to see. Norbe on loan was very, very good. Potentially going to look to bring him in for that balance there. Dele Alli even this season, 7 starts, 8 goals. Still knocking about and still doing bits, but this is his final season. He is joining Austria Vienna on a free contract, and I hope he goes over there and absolutely smashes it. Our on loan, Cam Maximovic, who went out to a championship side, was really good out on loan. Played 30 games overall, 9 goal contributions, a 6.95, and now have 29 million. So we have got a star for next season and the rest of this rebuild. Nico Paz, 8 goal contributions. Anguilo grabbed 13 assists and Jimenez grabbed 10 assists. So down the right-hand side, we are much more dangerous than the left, but at least we have got some very decent fullbacks for us. Overall, a fairly decent season, but still, I really am looking to make that next step. We were only 5 points off getting top 4 football, which would have been great, but I feel like we still need to take another step to really become a top tier side. And when financially we are still capped at 30% transfer revenue, that is very difficult. But it was now time to introduce Joshua Jonas, the cheapest signing we made this season, but by far the best. And you're going to see this guy turn into an absolute superstar. He is a South African striker, signed for £450,000 with these ridiculous stats. And if you have not seen the scouting video yet, where I show you exactly how to sign players like Josh Jonas, go and watch it because it's absolutely incredible and you won't find players like this in any other way. My next signing was Leo Le Breton, brought in from Rennes. He is a very determined, very aggressive central defence midfielder who is extremely consistent. Next up is a 6'9" absolute behemoth of a man. It's Adrian Gillingberg, and I am in just absolute awe of what I've got here. A decently paced, 16 finishing, 16 jumping reach, 6'9" finished striker. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I decided to take the risk. Next up for £2.3 million is probably our final real life player, or one of the last real life players that we're going to sign. It's Denis Teliovski, signed from Casapia. He does come through the Benfica Academy, but went over there, played 42 games in 2 seasons, developed into a really, really good DM, and he's now our DM. Bogdan Nikolai was my next signing, a Romanian centre-back, signed again from that very same method, as was Patrick Carlson, the Norwegian winger. And finally, a young goalkeeper, and Alessandro Nunziante, signed from Beneventeno for £400,000. He's pretty decent, he's got good consistency, and he's just 21 years of age. Now, going into this season, I fully expected the 6'9" Finnish demon to be our starting striker, but as you will see by the end of this, it will be Joshua Jonas, because he is an absolute joke. Nico Paz, Maximovic and Ali Jassim make up the attacking 3 trio, but of course Asana Diao is still here as well and can play in there with any of the positions and can rotate with any of them. Le Breton and Telichowski I've got as our 2 DMs, but as always, Braudner can also play. Alex Vale is the left back, Dosena, Felipe Mane and Gulo as the back 4, with Omuranovic in goal. Of course, this season, back in the Conference League, Can we win it for a second time? I should hope so. And I would just love to get top 4 football and the Italian Cup under our belt as well. And while last season we got to the semi-finals and lost to Inter Milan, this time we got to the semi-finals and beat AS Roma. And it was 2 players that weren't in the team last year, and Andrija Maksimovic and Josh Jonas scoring the goals. Maksimovic grabbed 4 in that game, but 19 goals overall this season, and it's now worth £53 million. While Josh Jonas had his breakout season, scoring 21 goals in 32 games, 15 in 23 starts in this Serie A, and showing we had signed an absolute demon. But going into the Italian Cup final, we would be facing Atalanta, and it went up just after the halftime whistle thanks to a goal from Ederson. But it was that man, Josh Jonas, to get the game back on level peggings. A poor defensive back pass, and Jonas, with his electric speed, got on the end of it and put the ball in the back of the net. It was then a young Italian that would take us the lead in the 107th minute in extra time, as Asana Gio found Savagli at the edge of the box to put it in the top corner. But our hearts were broken in the 121st minute when Atalanta tied the game up at 2-2 thanks to a deflected effort for Sotley firing home. Maksimovic scored our first penalty, but when it came to Atalanta, Ben Zabani missed. And that made us champions of the Italian Cup. Despite Oskarsson and Vale both missing penalties, Atalanta missed 3. And we win the game. Thank you, Atalanta. But the Italian Cup was the only competition we had a genuine chance of winning. The Serie A, we had an absolutely fantastic season with just a few losses, and they could be absolutely costly. That made us eventually fall out of the title race with AC Milan, but did still finish in 5th place and secured Champions League football for the first time with Como. Now, this has taken quite some time. 6 seasons to get a team from the mid-table to Champions League football is a lot, but we have steadily built Como without really too much tactic tweaking or using too much meta tactics into a really solid side. And I feel like it's been a really enjoyable and rewarding rebuild. We've not signed too many crazy mental Wonderkids, hence why there is Nico Paz on the front thumbnail. We've signed hidden players and hidden regens and built an absolute powerhouse. I mean, this season, Denis Teleshkovsky grabbed a 7.18, Jonathan Anguelo a 7.18. These are 2 players that I have never used in an FM rebuild before. And I mean, the right backs were £57 million, Teleshkovsky worth 33, Ali Jassim grabbed 25 goal contributions and £37 million in value. Maksimovic, 19 goals, 8 assists, £50 million in value. I just feel like we've done such a good job at naturally building a very strong side. And as mentioned, I'm not using ridiculously meta tactics. I made these tactics for the team at the start of the rebuild, didn't download anything, just sort of used a bit of FM knowledge, attacking wingbacks, etc. And I feel like it's worked really, really well, and I'm really quite proud of what we've done. But sadly, when it comes to the easiest competition to run an FM, we lost to Dynamo Kiev. In the final leg at home, we lost 3-0 in the round of 16, which is very embarrassing. Now, financially, the Conference League and the Europa League do very, very little, but the Champions League, now that does something to a club. In terms of our reputation, we're up to a 3.5 star, and I now think we can start to attract some of the best Wonderkids on the game. Now, once again, we are going back to the loan market, and that's all we're doing. Number 1, Fran Rocco Stremecki signed from Hoffenheim on the loan deal. He was very expensive. We haven't really got any chance of bringing him back unless we raise £18 million, which we might be able to do, depending how we do this season. But overall, I think he's a very solid player. And number 2 is Alexander Hein from RB Leipzig. This guy is an absolute talent. We've signed him on loan with a potential offer of 26 million at the end of the season. Seeing how good he could be on loan, we might end up bringing him in. He's got good speed, he's 5'10", extreme consistency, really good on the ball, but most importantly, really good mentally at just 20 years of age. And he actually comes into that left wing possession for the club because Nico Paz is actually a bit of a worse player. So I'm going to see what he can do in that left wing. Jassim keeps his role on the right, Maksimovic in the cam. Of course, we do still have Asana Gio, Mazambo, Paz, Gillingberg, all in the team. But overall, I'm very, very happy. We have 4 non-EU players in the squad, and I wouldn't change any of them for the world. Angulo, Jacine, Maximovic, and Jonas are 4 of our best players, so fully deserve to be there. Our captain is Filippo Mane, and he's progressed into a really solid centre-back, and Stramaky is going to go next to him as well. Let's see what we can do. Our first season in Champions League football, and can we break into that top 5 once again? Well, I certainly didn't expect the Champions League to go quite this well. We've ended up finishing in 10th place, once again, just a singular point away from being in that top 8. Meaning we are going to go to knockout playoff round, but we are hopefully going to face a team we can beat. And we did. We faced up against Sporting Lisbon, beat them 2-1 in the first leg away from home, and in the second leg at home, a convincing 2-0 victory, a goal from the spot to kick things off, and an eventual goal from Hein to make us 4-1 aggregate winners. But in the round of 16, we were shown there is a way to go to become a top-tier European side. We were beaten by Bayern Munich 6-3 on aggregate, including this 4-2 loss in the first leg, but overall, I'm pretty happy. The Champions League didn't affect our form in the Serie A at all. In fact, we had our best season by far, securing 76 points and being just 9 points away from the top of the title, with AC Milan winning it on 85 points. We even had someone in the top goal scorers charts. It was Andrija Maximovic. We had Alex Vale second in the player of the matches and top of the average ratings, while also coming top of the assists. Seemed to be a bit of like a late bloomer in his career at 26 years of age. Has just pulled out his best season by far. He has had back-to-back seasons of being above a 7 average rating, but this year was absolutely mental. And as for the rest of the team, Ali Jacine grabbed 19 goals and 10 assists, Josh Jonas 14 and 5, Maximovic 17 and 5, Giao 12 and 4, Alexander Hein with 14, and has impressed me a lot and has grown a lot, so I am going to look to potentially bring him back in. Telechovsky, 8 goals, 7 assists, 15 goal contributions from DM is great. Nico Paz with 15 as well. Filippo Mane with 4, Alblat with 2, Angulo with 10 assists, and of course Vale with 17. We didn't manage to win the Italian Cup this season. We were quarterfinaled by Inter Milan, who finished second in the league. But overall, again, showing some more progression, and you can see in the league positions just the consistency of how much better we are as a club, really showing ourselves to be a solid top 4 Italian team. And as mentioned, financially, being in the Champions League does everything for you. We have £43 million to spend and £77 million in the bank. And due to having all of that money, I was convinced to bring in Alexander Hein from Leipzig for 26 million. We then signed Martin Cepeda from Universidad Chiliad as a decent defensive midfielder, and Martin Projaka from Ladaboslev as a very good centre-back to replace the loan deal from last season. I have also made the decision to go in a brand new direction with our goalkeeper, and since been scouting him for a couple of seasons, we have signed Anthony Maury from Show in France. He's got great area reach and jumping reach. He is 6'3" and fantastic at actual shot stopping, 16 1-on-1, 16 handling and 17 reflexes, 14 determination, just 20 years of age. We could have stumbled across an absolute star for just 5.7 million. And that is all we've done in terms of transfers this season. Again, not a lot of change, a fairly basic year, especially with the big signing of bringing in Hein on a permanent deal. Let's see what it does though for season 8. Well, it was a bit of a nothing season, to be honest. We didn't learn too much about us, and we didn't really regress or progress. We still finished in the top 5 in the Serie A, securing Champions League football. We lost to Real Madrid in the round of 16, sort of as expected in the Champions League, and lost in the quarterfinals, the Italian Cup, to Inter Milan. All things I would expect to happen, sadly, but at least we have got Champions League football next season. Again, financially, having that Champions League football is doing wonders for us. In terms of the squad, Josh Jonas is now a 4.5-star player, scored 28 goals this season, and you saw in the video, if we're done with the scouting, he does eventually leave, and that is this season to Aston Villa. So we'll have to replace him in just a minute's time. Asana Giao grabbed 24 goal contributions, Alexander Hein with 23, and Maximovic with 19. But let's get into season 9 to once again look to progress. Now, of course, the sad sale of Joshua Jonas has gone through. £63 million, a signing for just 450k. Just showing you once again, the scouting method works an absolute treat, and you can sign some superstars for very, very cheap. Which meant it was time to bring in a brand new striker, and the guy I've gone for is Bruno Alves on a loan deal from Juventus. Now, this guy, I wasn't 100% convinced by, but from doing the scouting that I'd done was the best option without having to spend a ridiculous amount of money. A lot of players were very, very good in finishing composure but didn't have the pace, or had the pace but weren't great finishing composure. Seems like I sort of have fallen upon a bit of a dead patch in Wonderkid strikers coming through without having to spend like £45 million, which would then have been no point. We could have just kept Josh Jonas at that point. And this guy is extremely consistent and ticks all the boxes, but maybe just a slightly lower on some of the stats. We do have an optional fee of 23.5 million. Last season, he was on loan at Brest in the second tier of France and scored 11 goals in 20 games for 7.18. So he has proved he can score goals. I mean, even down here, 26 goals out of the Zebra under 23s. In Portugal, though, 13 goals in the second league in 27 a few seasons ago. So he is a proven goal scorer wherever he has been. He is extremely consistent, and if he hits his form, he will be an absolute superstar. After the success of Josh Jonas, I went back to South Africa and found Joseph Langa from Orlando Pirates, a centre-back that I have signed for just £500,000. Christopher Schmidt was my next signing, a young left-back for 2.3 from Borussia Dortmund. And finally, the £14 million signing of Emil Jorgensen, a Danish right-winger signed from Midtjylland, signed for his great speed, consistency, and very good technical stats. Now, this was a slightly sad season as we have said goodbye to Nico Paz. We took £15 million for him. At 26 years of age, he played 219 games for the club, 46 goals, but never turned in to one of the best wingers in the game, which I really thought he would do from the start of this rebuild. That does mean the team does look like so going into season 9, with Marie in goal and Gulo and Vale keeping the wing-back positions, Langa and Mane being our two centre-backs, with Lerberton and Teleshowski in DM. Asane Giao has been brilliant in this rebuild and plays at right wing, Hein at left wing, Maximovic in cam, and Bruno Alves up front. Backups wives Nunziante, Alex Jimenez, Nikolai Projaka, Schmidt, Alabut, Cepeda, Jorgensen, Mazambo, Ali Jassim, and Glingberg make up the season. As we go into season 9, we just have to concentrate on once again getting Champions League football and building this club's reputation. Now, a pretty decent way to do that is to win competitions. So in our first game here, we are starting in the Italian Cup final. An absolute screamer from Cepeda before the half made us 1-0 leaders in this one. But Inter Milan did clap back as Luis Guilherme gets the byline, sets it into Lambo as they make it 1-1. But extra time, it was our 6'9" beast. I mean, you can see him in the middle there in the 100th minute to grab the goal. Glingingbird finishing past Di Giovanni, and Como are once again Italian Cup winners. And what it always seems like when we win in the Italian Cup, our form in the league is always absolutely fantastic. We were actually unbeaten until the end of January, where we lost 2-1 to Torino. We were on a simply crazy run of form. And even in the second half of the season, we only lost one more game to Juventus. We drew a few too many, and I was worried, but overall, our form had got us what we wanted. We had finally became champions of Italy after 9 seasons, and I couldn't be happier. Our growth as a club has been brilliant. I mean, they actually started 20 years ago in 2010 now as a Serie C side. And you can see since we've taken over a very nice steady rise, even there dropping a little bit 3rd to 5th, keeping Champions League football. Overall, a simply brilliant journey. Which, for the eagle-eyed of you, I have just spoiled, because we won the Champions League in season number 9 as well. I didn't realise showing that screen. Well, I did realise. I forgot showing that screen would show we also won the Champions League. And we done it this season against Manchester City. Jorgensen and Hein linking up to make it 2-0 in 64 minutes. And we made it 3 as well in the 80th as Mazambo set it back to the wing-back to find Jorgensen at the back post for a pretty dominating 3-0 victory against Manchester City. And as much as that is a little bit anticlimactic, we have won the Champions League, we've won the Serie A, we've won the Italian Cup. I am so happy in how we have done this rebuild. We finished the season as champions of everything. We have £76 million in the bank. There is no debt on the club whatsoever. There is £63 million in transfer budget. And the squad is full of Wonderkids. Now, of course, this save file, as mentioned earlier, is available on Patreon. I have built you a fantastic team full of stars. I am not going to recommend you sign Bruno Alves, and I'm going to leave it as I haven't signed him. I think you can get better out there. This guy has 19 goals this season. His stats are fantastic, but maybe lacks a little bit of speed, being only 5 for 8. There is some absolute superstars out there in the striking realms. I mean, I don't know if it's possible, but you could be able to bring back Joshua Jonas. Let me see if that is possible for you to do. He's at Aston Villa. I mean, his value's crazy, but he hardly played any games. This would be the thing I would do. His value's a bit too much, but bring back this guy and have some fun with him because he's absolutely fantastic. Or go and scout your own absolute talent. Let me just check as well before we finish up this rebuild how Dele Alli got on. He is now a director of football, but he did go to Austria Vienna, had 2 okay seasons there, didn't play very well, and of course didn't get back into that England team, which is quite sad. But I am happy we managed to revive his career, and we did do an absolutely incredible rebuild. And Andrija Maksimovic was absolutely fantastic. Asana Gyan, 22 goal contributions in this final season, was brilliant. Hein, we took the risk, it was worth it. And Ali Jassim was a fantastic player for us with 13 goal contributions. If you did enjoy the journey of taking Como to Serie A, Champions League and Italian Cup winners, make sure you're smashing the like button, and I'll speak to you next time.